go. Now, you don't think that fish didn't want that jig. I mean, they'll do this with lizards, Carolina rigging like what we were doing earlier. But look at that. That Strike King football jig is within a whisker of going down that fish's throat, back on the roof of the mouth. Gotta stick my finger way down there. Might even have to get a needle nose plier. Got it. That's why they get so fat here. They like to eat. They're kind of like me. One of these casts, it's going to be the right one. But something you always need to do is check that line to make sure those teeth didn't fret. Jig fishing is probably the toughest technique there is in bass fishing. It's a technique that so many people have issues with, but it's a technique that can catch a great big old fish. If that doesn't look like crawdad, I don't know what does. The big deal is be able to focus. And so many people, they have real issues that way. They just don't concentrate and they get the bite and they're not ready when it does happen. And when that bait hits the water, you should really be riveted right on the line and be watching that line as it's sinking. And you'll see if they hit it on the drop, you actually see that line jump, and when it gets to the bottom, you'll see the line kind of go limp. And then you know it's time to start working it. But most of the time, especially when I'm fishing vertical stuff like this, I'm going to let that jig go all the way to the bottom. Now in the fall, when you got a lot of fish up on the surface and in some lakes feeding on shad, they'll be underneath boat docks, they'll be on treetops, and then you know, pitch it or cast out there and actually swim it underneath the surface. But right now, when we're fishing this vertical stuff, throw it out there, let it go right to the bottom, pick up on it and feel. And if it feels heavy, one's probably got it. Go ahead and jerk. If you can move it, just kind of work it in short hops and experiment. Warm water, a lot of times they want it swept way off the bottom, fall back down, sweep it up, let it fall. But most of the time, I'm just kind of crawling it and hopping it along the bottom with the rod tip. And anytime you feel something different that halfway feels alive, you need to jerk. So many people do not jerk on their bites when they're jig fishing. They go, you know, they kind of sit there and go, that may have been one. Well, yeah, there's a great way to find out, and that's set the hook. So if you're going to do one thing when you're learning how to jig fish, anytime it feels different, too light or too heavy, you probably need to jerk. Or if you see your line move sideways, do anything strange. But the biggest thing, I mean, you don't have to be a zombie. You can be talking to the guy in the back of the boat, but always be aware of what your lure is doing and really try to be focused just like that. And so when something happens, you can jerk. He thought I was just jerking for no reason. Something actually came up and grabbed the back of that. And you can see what happened. He bit one side off. And that's the feel you got to develop, where if something even touches it, you know they got hold of it. Once you get that feel down, there's nothing should ever grab your bait during the day without you jerking at it. You'll start catching a lot more jig fish.